Do you know one of the most questions asked by many people out there? Maybe first let's take a listen to a few of them. The first question I think most of the people have ever asked themselves is, what am I to do? It's a question of purpose. It's related to a question of why am I existing? It's related to a question of why am I not doing what I was supposed to do? It's a question related to potential, to your capability, what you should be doing. It is what this question tries to relate. And I believe each and everyone at one time in life could have asked this question. The second question is this: what are my purpose? What am I supposed to do as I'm living? Am I just supposed to survive or to impact? Those are some of the questions many people kept asking themselves. And you equally listening to this audio might have asked this question for several times in your life. Now let's dig deep into finding out what exactly it means for us to have such questions. Did you know that we have all been spared for some 2, 3, 4, 5, or many reasons? But maybe some of us knows the reasons why we have been spared, and maybe part of us may not be knowing why we have been spared. You could be knowing the call and your purpose, but unfortunately, you may not be knowing equally the call and the purpose of your existing. Let's dig deep into understanding this. We today bring for you the inspiration of the soul, where we shall be speaking and answering the questions for what it means by having a call, and for us being spared for this call, and how we must be responding to this call. Above all, we shall also discover how we can start acting upon this call that we have been spared for. We are going to be taking our reading from the book of Luke, chapter 13, verse 6 to 9. I'm going to read it in the NIV version. It states, "Then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree growing in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruits on it, but did not find any. So he said to the man, the gardener, who used to take care of the vineyard, he stated, 'For years now I have been coming to this fig tree, but I couldn't find any to eat. Cut it down. Why should it waste up the soil and the land?' It furthermore continues in verse 8, and it states, the gardener replied, 'Sir, leave it alone for one more year. I will dig around it and fertilize it. If it doesn't bear fruit next year, fine. We shall cut it down.' This is a conversation between the owner of the garden and the worker who used to work in his garden. For years he planted trees, different type of fruits, but he was so very interested in the fig tree. But for eons of years he has been going there and could not find any fruit to eat from this tree. And so he had to decide for the trees to be cut down. And he had another project. I believe he had another plan, and he wanted this plan to be fulfilled in a different way. But it first starts by clearing this thing which was not producing fruits. Have you ever also sat down and asked yourself, if I'm truly worth living, why am I not producing the fruits expected of me? Why am I not doing what was purposed for me? Have you ever asked yourself that question? You're not far from this fig tree illustration. Maybe for years you've been struggling to do something on your own. Maybe for years you've also been struggling to make life work out for you. But your life has not been producing what you needed. The truth is that, as the gardener or the worker advised the boss, and he stated that, no, master, let's spare it for this next year too. Let's spare it for another year. I will do whatever possible I could do, and I will ensure that I fertilize it. I will ensure I do whatever it takes for this fruit to bear next year. And if it doesn't, sure, we can cut it. Why should we rebel about this? I don't know what conversation followed, but my instinct tells me that after a while, this tree was spared. And this was spared for a reason. It was spared for a calling. It has maybe reached a point in life that you have started feeling that your life was not worth or valuable, because for many times you've been struggling, trying to make ends meet, but it wasn't working. And you're already discouraged. It's okay to be discouraged that way. But did you know the good news? God has spared you for a calling. God has spared you for a reason. Just like the gardener who stated that, let's spare this for the next year. I believe if you are turning to the next year, if you have celebrated your birthday, it could be a point that God has maybe spared you for another year. And that year maybe is for you to bear fruits. You are supposed to be cut down, but somehow, for some reason, you have been spared for a calling to bear fruits in the next chapter of your life. Let's first illustrate this to the common crop that we grow in our countries. Let's give an example of coffee. I believe for those who plant coffee, yes, as Uganda here, we know it is one of the most vital crop, which is a cash crop of one of these days, making tons of millions for our country, and even those who are actively into the cultivating, the business and the chain process of productions. And I've been knowing the coffee tree for long. In my quest of understanding what coffee is, I figure out some of the facts about coffee. Right now it is dry, and some of the farmers could have planted their coffee and maybe the dry spell reached. So what they have to do is that they have to ferry water and irrigate their coffee in order for it to not dry up. I've also learned that the coffee takes some time for it to produce its fruits. And when it starts producing, the first harvest might be little, but as time continues by and by, the yields of the harvest will be hardening and multiplying. That is what a coffee tree could be in Uganda here and in other African countries. I want us to illustrate the fig tree to the coffee. Let's assume you are a farmer, you've planted your coffee, and your coffee did not produce what exactly you were expecting. Just like the many farmers out there who sometimes they plant with expectations that I am going to harvest this quantity of product after my toil. But what ends up happening? Most of them do not get what they were expecting. And let's assume you've also had a fig tree, or you had a coffee plantation. You've done whatever you could have done You have fertilized, you have irrigated, you have added manure, you have ensured that you protect it by providing shade. You even went to some extent of fencing it. You've done a lot for this coffee, you've been spraying. But at the end of it all, what ends up happening? Maybe you get something which you are not expecting. The harvest would be little. But some mind tells you that maybe let me clear off this garden of coffee so that I can replace it with maybe some good plant like cocoa or maybe any other cash crop or bananas. Let's talk it that way. But the truth is that sometimes you may be advised, or your consciousness may tell you that let me first spare this coffee plantation for some times, and let me do this and that and so forth. And by doing so, you'll be expecting that in the next chapter of that coffee, it will produce what you are expecting. Now, the question is, have you been spared also for one more year? Maybe right now you have also been spared for some purpose, for some reason, for some call. Let's discover this. In the Bible, we find a lot of illustrations, and the Bible is full of examples and warnings. The Bible is full of illustrations, most especially about progress, wellness, richness, and many more. But there is also that promise of God giving us abundance of anything that we needed. No wonder the Bible also has stories of people He spared them for the purpose of meeting His call. Like examples could be Moses, who was spared from being killed at an infant age. Why? Because there was a call for him after 80 years for him to deliver the Israelites from captivity of the Egyptians. So it was also for Paul when he was doing a lot of bad things against the Christians. But God still spared him for some reason. I've kept understanding why God would spare someone doing good or bad thing. But I've discovered one thing, that God spares people who are doing bad things for a purpose and for a reason. And so Paul was also spared from being killed. God would have done something very different for the case of Paul. But do you know what? God had to spare him for a call that later transformed into the many books in the New Testament. It was as a result of Paul being converted. That was a call. We also get into the story of Joseph. From being spared from death, that the brother was, which the brothers were doing things to ensure that he dies. He was sold into captivity. He went to the Potiphar's house, got a lot of temptations, but God was seeing him through that. Amidst all those challenges, amidst all those temptations Joseph went through, God was sparing him for a calling. Years after, he became one of the best ruler of Egypt. He was spared for a call. Your life too has been spared for a call. My life too has been spared for a call. But the question is, do we know this call? Have we discovered our call in life? Let's first keep asking ourselves those questions. You see, the Bible speaks of very many verses about God's purpose for us, or our purpose to be fulfilled. It's a reason why God spares us up to this very time. It's the reason God is sparing you still for more years to come. Why? Because there's a call, there's a purpose He has seen in you. Now, let's first keep asking ourselves questions. In most cases, you have ever asked yourself, why does God spare us? You know, a call, it's something that has been designed for you to respond to it. And every time you get a call, you either respond by accepting or rejecting. It's the same thing in life as we live. We have been called to do different things. You and I have something inside us. That thing, it's a call God has specially given and designed for you. No one else will have that call. No one else will fulfill that purpose. It is God seeing it in you only as an individual. And do you know what? The moment you discover this call and you respond to it, you live a full life. You live a life filled with purpose. You live a life filled with a fulfillment. You live a life that has been already accomplished. We have been spared for very many reasons in life. In fact, yesterday you have been spared from maybe a tragedy that was going to take your life. Maybe for the many times you have been spared for so many reasons you may have not discovered yet. But there is truth in this word I'm telling you. Many of us have been spared for a calling. And that calling, it's only meant for us to fulfill. It's either we to respond to that calling or for us to reject that calling. You see, a life which is very disappointing in life as we live, it's a life that has not discovered its purpose. It's a life that has not discovered what he or she must be doing. Once you have discovered what exactly you are supposed to be doing, and you start doing that thing, you start attracting the right people, the right opportunity, and the right resources for you to complete that task. I may have a lot of very many reasons why I've been spared, but I believe there's one standing reason God has given for why I must be spared, and for why I'm yet to be spared for the time coming of my life. And I agree, I do believe that you equally listening to this have some unique call that has been given unto you. You have to fulfill that call. Let's first understand the terminologies of being spared. You see, a crop from the garden could be spared from hailstorms and different tragedy that may happen to that crop. An animal might be spared for many reasons. Butterflies, the birds, and different species might have been spared for different reasons. And that reason is to be met. God would be intending for that purpose to be fulfilled through that particular animal, through that particular fly, through that particular butterfly, through that particular species. And I do agree that, indeed, as birds, animals, and insects have also been spared to fulfill certain things which they are supposed to be doing it as it is commanded by God. How about we human? Don't you think we have very many things to fulfill? Don't you think there are very many calls we have to respond to? This could be the case of you listening to me right now. We have been spared for a call. That is the theme that you should be driving your life with in the next coming years, the next coming phase of your life. You have been spared for a call. Find out what this call is. Figure out how you can start acting upon this call. Because inside you lies many fulfillment. The world is waiting. Because inside that call lies the many lives that may be saved when you accept that call. Inside that call that is calling inside you lies the many changes that is going to happen for the future of the world. There's that call. There's that call. There's that call you've been spared for, ladies and gentlemen. Figure out what this call is. Because you might be having something inside your heart. You feel you want to do this thing. You feel something. There's that gut. There's that energy. There's that enthusiasm. There's that zeal. There's that passion you have already inside your heart right now. And I believe each and everyone has this thing inside them. There's that one thing that keeps calling you. There's that one thing that keeps you awake at night. There's that one thing you keep envisioning. There's that one thing you keep dreaming of. There's that one thing you feel you should fulfill before you finally say bye-bye to the world. That is that one thing I'm talking of. It is the call. And you have been spared for that call. That thing you're feeling inside you, it's that call you've been spared for. Many are perishing. Many need changes. Many need to change the world. Many are looking for salvation. Many are looking for fulfillment. Many are looking for good health. Many are looking for striving. But who can give them the key to this thing? It's you. The unfortunate part of it is that you have the potential to give them this fulfillment, but you have not acted upon this call. You have been spared for a calling. If you believe that you are indeed being spared for a calling, ask God to give you the strength to carry on that call. Even when you are still drowning down, even when you are losing your energies right now, get back to the game and start acting upon that call. Because the world waits for you to act so that they can get fulfillment, transformations, rehabilitations, and the many things that could end up changing the world. It was Maya Angelou who stated in her book, To All the Grandmothers, she stated that I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. You may come as one with that call God has given to you, with that call God is calling you with that call that you're feeling inside your heart but you can't act upon it. Let's interpret what Maya Angelou states. She says, you come as one with that call, but you stand as 10,000. The 10,000 people you may not see now, the 10,000 people you may not know of them now, the 10,000 people who are yet to come after you will be partakers and beneficiaries of that call God is calling you with. God has called us for a purpose. God has called us for a fulfillment. God has spared us for this call. If we could only understand the reason for why we have been spared, we shall get to discover what our call in life could be. Quit playing games. Don't just live to survive. Live to impact. Because there's that call already inside your gut. There's that thing you're already feeling you need to do. The challenges might be there. Yes, it is part of the process. The journey may be very hard and tough. That is how the game is. It could be very hard for you to start over again, to act upon that call. Maybe you started and you quitted because of the hardship of fulfilling that call. But you will never walk alone. Showers of blessings surrounds you. And God is ready to give you the strength to carry on upon that call. The year might have gone, ages might have passed, generations might have gone. You feel you need to do something for the next generations coming ahead of you. That is what your call could be equally. Your call could be helping the mothers. Your call could be helping the children find their future. Your call could be transforming the next generation coming ahead of you. Your call could be in different ways. In your setting of the job descriptions, in the setting of your professions, in the setting of your careers, in the setting of your neighborhood, in the setting of your positions at workplace, in the community, or so forth. God gave you all those in order for you to fulfill this call. One thing I've discovered for why people do not fulfill this call is that they find it very hard to start. They don't know how to start it, when to start it, what is needed to start that call. But that call will wait for you until you fulfill it. One of the most strategy of life, it's a life that has not been fulfilled. It's a life that had a call but never responded to that call. It was the late Miles Monroe who stated that the richest place on earth is not Namibia with the gold. It's not the United Emirates with oil. It's not the different places with the gold. But the richest places on earth are the graveyards. Because in those graveyards lies different calls which were not fulfilled. Lies calls which were meant to transform the world. It lies the call which was going to transform and rehabilitate the current generation. But at the end of it all, those people never responded to their calls. And so they lie in the grave with those callings which were not fulfilled. I would not wish you to be also that way. I would not wish it for you also not to fulfill that call. Because it would be of great importance. It could save me, it could save you, it could save the next generation coming ahead of us. When we have this call fulfilled, life can also be of a fulfillment. For those who have ever tried doing lots of things on earth, I believe you have discovered one thing. You have discovered that you don't find tranquility in even what you're doing. Tranquility, it's the joy, it's the rest you get. It's the feeling, it's the gratitude that you have after you have achieved something, after you have fulfilled something. But most of us are doing things we are not feeling tranquility over because we are just doing things to survive. We are not impacting. So we have been spared for a call. Act upon those call. Start it now. If you had quitted, get back to the game and start over again. If you haven't started, maybe because you need everything to be fast right on board, start with what you have right now. Start fulfilling your purpose in life. Start acting upon your call. Moses was spared for this call of saving the Israelites. It wasn't realized that year. He was spared. But after many years later, he fulfilled this call. Paul equally was given a call to God, by God rather. And through that call, we now have most of the books in the New Testament by this great apostle, who even stated that I have fulfilled my purpose. I have run the race and I'm now ready to be poured out. He had that joy. He had that tranquility. He knew inside himself that he had already fulfilled what he had been called to do. Joseph never realized of his call, though he dreamt of this call. But after some years, he got through the challenges. And I'm telling you, on the journey to pursuing that call, you'll have those challenges just like Joseph had. But at the end of it all, that call will come to a reality. That call you have been spared for. Imagine being spared from death, being spared from being sold, being spared from the prison, being spared from different tragedy Joseph went through. He was spared for a call to save his brothers in the later time. When drought came into the country, he was spared for that call. Jonah thought he was wise. God called him and he was supposed to go to Nineveh. But what ended up happening? He never intended to fulfill this call. But trust me, his life was spared even in the belly of the fish. Why? Because God had called him to fulfill a purpose for the people of Nineveh. And he did that for the people of Nineveh because he accepted to fulfill the call. What call have you been spared for? Do you have any call inside you? Are you passionate about pursuing that call? If that is the case, this is the text we have read earlier. The book of Luke chapter 13, verse 6 to 8. A story of a man who had a garden. He thought of clearing the garden away. Just like many right now are thinking of clearing their life because they find that they have no purpose of existing in this world. Many are also thinking of that in negativity way. Many have been tired already. Many are already fed up. Many are not seeing their life producing fruits. But God says, I have spared you for a fulfillment. I have spared you for a calling that I best know to myself. He told Jeremiah that I knew who you are supposed to be, meaning that call existed before. The Bible also states that I know the end from the beginning. He knows your end. He knows your beginning as well. He knows everything about you. He knows about that call, and he needs you to fulfill that call. The gardener believed that even the next phase of this crop would produce something. There could be other people besides you who are believing that you can also do something very vital, that you also have the potential. There are people who are believing in you right now for you to pursue that call. Just like the gardener or the worker in this farm who believe that the crop can still produce something when it is spared for another year. It could be your case as well right now. But as it was spared for 1 year, did it produce fruits? Relate that to the question of your life. As you have been spared ever since you were conceived, you were born, you grew past all the stages of life. You are right now maybe in your mid-20s. You are right now maybe in your 30s. You're maybe right now in your 40s. And maybe even your 80s. Have you figured out your call? If you have been spared all the way from birth up to now that you exist, do you think it is from your own making? No. The grace of the Lord is sufficient. And you have been spared for a calling which is so unique. God only sees in you that that thing can be fulfilled. And He has placed that purpose in you. He has designed that thing in you. That call, He has designed it specifically for you to fulfill it. That is why God has spared you for this calling. That has been it for our edition of the Inspiration of the Soul. Let us lift our soul high and call unto the Lord for Him to give us the strength to carry on our calling, for us to have that passion of getting back to the game at a time we are already discouraged. Let us call unto the Lord to help us meet this calling in case we haven't discovered yet our calling. Stay blessed as you discover your calling in life. Know that you have been spared for that calling. And when you figure out that calling, go for it. Start doing it. Because the world will only get that unique thing from you alone, not from someone else, not from your relative, not from your parents, but from you. It's a reason God has spared you. Stay blessed.